Two women are attacked in New York City in 1995. This set off a war between the police department and the LGBTQ plus community. This is the controversial case of Sylvia Lugo and Amanda Leach.
Negative K, nothing further, just city camp in the corner. We've got a hold 187. Officers on the scene.
Hey everybody, welcome to Code 187. I am Joe, your host here, joined with my co-host Sarah, and we talk about true crimes, but I never give a good explanation of that. So Sarah, tell our new listeners, if they are new listeners, what we talk about on here.
Well, we talk about everything sometimes, but we are true crime. We're not experts. We're just your true crime best friends. And I tell a story and Joe reacts with his big reactions. And that's about it. Yeah.
Yes. And so like last time, I was very respectful. See, when we do intros and things, I'm very respectful. And then I get into my other stuff. So here we go. Respectfulness gone. Why you always keep getting stuff around that's related to me? Like we had somebody named Murray. We had somebody who was homeschooled, somebody who had mommy issues. You know how many cases we have done with my birth year or my birth date? I know this is my birth month, but every time you do your intros, it's like 1995 or June something or Murray or something. And I'm just like.
So is it your birthday or your birth year or what?
This is my birth year.
Okay. 1995, right? That's what it said.
Yep. And then we also did my birth date in one episode. I think we did one. It was June 26, 1995. And I was like, what?
I don't know how I end up doing it. I think that was a big year.
Yeah.
I think a lot happened that year. I don't know.
I grew up in the year of murder.
Yeah. I'm actually researching a case right now where the girl died on my birthday. And I was like, well, not like a year, but date. And I was like, oh.
Isn't that crazy how, I don't know, it's just crazy when you start looking at stuff and how it just relates to you. Well, it'll just be like May 26, 1995, this person did this murder. And you're like, that was a month before I was born. You know, and I better stop saying my birthday on here. People are going to look it up and stuff like that. So,
well, are you a Gemini?
They switched it up. So like my whole life, I was a Cancer. And I still consider myself a Cancer. And then they were like, I think it was like a couple of years ago or something. They were like, we're going to just completely take out Cancers and then we're going to do Gemini. So the whole month of June is just Gemini. And I don't know if they took out Cancers, but I think they might have pushed it back. So I think like July or the late part of June, like later than the 26th. So I don't know.
Well, what I will say is there's a lot of killers that are Geminis. And like they're supposed to be kind of like two-faced in a way, but like two personalities. And so like if you're looking at a serial killer, like the good guy and the bad guy, it makes sense that it's a Gemini.
You listen to my show. You know how many characters and stuff we go in. Listen, guys. Okay, we're gonna get into the case here in a second. There was one whole episode because I have people in my brain. And sometimes they just want to come out. They don't want to hurt nobody, but they want to come out. And so we had a whole episode of when one of those people came out and they ran the show for like the first half. And it was great. I thought it was funny. But see, now I don't even want to do this show anymore because now I'm basically a serial killer. So
yeah, you do have a lot of those traits. Sorry.
Listen, I hope they do a documentary on me, but I hope this is a guy who had all the traits, but never did anything, you know? Like, jeez.
Well, if you are, I'm just giving you all the material you need to run with. So hopefully not. I'll be an accomplice.
They were like, yeah, like, you know, if we don't get famous from discovering cases, we will get famous from making a serial killer. Like, oh, that's like
Not.
a Netflix documentary. It's like the Bible created a serial killer. Join us in June 20.
That's funny.
Oh my. Okay. All right. What's this case about?
All right. Well, it's Pride Month, June, and we are talking about an LGBTQ case. This one's pretty interesting. So, yeah.
It was I was talking to Sarah. I was like, you said females, right? Earlier.
Mhm.
And I was gonna say, while we were talking about this before, it was like, I was like, well, that kind of makes sense because most serial killers, like guys, they were gay. You know, it was like you read it, it's gotten to a point where it's like, oh, they killed somebody. Oh, you know, with serial killing, period. Oh, they killed somebody, they had sex with them. No matter if it's male or female, it's just one of those things. And then if it's a man, of course, they do stuff to other guys. So yeah.
A lot of times you have like a gay older man that's a serial killer and he kills and rapes little boys,
Yes. Mhm.
which is horrific. And I just like, oh, but yeah, that's the typical thing, I think.
He was the gay. He was the guy who had the new Netflix thing, the clown guy from Illinois.
Gacy.
Yes, that was him. I have not watched that yet. It's on my list. It's literally on my Netflix list, and I have not watched it yet because I've heard so many about that.
It's good. They really go there. I had known so much about it already that for me, I was like, tell me something new, and they didn't. But yeah, I mean, it's good. They really show a lot in it.
Yep.
And so that was kind of like people were like, should they not show as much?
We've talked about serial killers. I mean, if you're going to go there, I mean, that's like us. At the beginning, when we first started this whole show, we said this is a disclaimer for all the episodes we do now from here forth. So anything we say or any way we say it, it's already go listen to the first episode, you know. So
Exactly.
but you gotta talk about everything when you come to serial killings. It even kind of blew my mind that I was listening to a serial killing podcast and they were like, and this killer did some gruesome things that we will not repeat. I'm like, what did he do? What did he do? Like we was listening to this one. They were like, the murderer got piano wire and sawed off a lady's boob. And I was like, that's horrific. I had to think about that in my brain. And now what are you saying they did? That can't be, there's nothing more horrific, you know. Come on now.
Yeah, the only time I think I edit myself is when it's kids.
Yep. Mhm.
But like you watch so much stuff. We're desensitized so much to especially true crime listeners. We hear the worst of the worst of the worst. So nothing surprises me.
I'll hear certain things, like certain stuff on the news, and it's kind of like, why don't I feel anything, you know?
Right.
And it's like, you've been listening to too many true crime serial killer stuff, you know. Yeah. So especially when it happened with that shooting down there in Texas, I was
Mhm.
like, in my brain, I felt concerned and everything, but like usually here, because you hear so many stories, you know, and it was just like, well, let's take a break. Let's take a break. True crime, serial killing, and stuff like that.
Yeah, I think now that like I look as the lens through my daughter
Mhm.
and in those situations and I'm like, she is so innocent and just goes to school to see her friends, really.
Yep.
She's not learning, she's just talking. And I think about the fact that like I had to sit her down and actually have that conversation.
Mhm.
And I was like, how do I explain to her that like someone doesn't like her just because? Like no reason.
Yep.
Someone wants to kill you because I don't know.
Mhm.
It's hard.
We didn't want to homeschool our kids. My wife and I were homeschooled. We didn't want to homeschool our kids. We wanted to put them in public school, and they were like, stuff like that, you're just like, okay, I don't want to do that now. I mean,
I thought about it too. Yeah.
I don't know. It's the world's crazy, as we can tell, uh, just from one, the stories we're telling, and then two, the stuff in the news too. You know, just crazy.
I'm on this thing right now. So I've surrounded myself with true crime for years and years and years. And I'm on this thing where I'm like, sometimes I gotta clock out,
Mhm.
Like sometimes I gotta put the headphones down. I gotta like take a break. And I was really into like, because Netflix just keeps dropping good documentaries.
Oh yeah. Mhm.
But I had to take a step back and watch something funny for a
Yep.
while
Mhm.
because I was like, my brain's just numb.
Yep. It's kind of like me with caffeine. I can drink a whole bunch of caffeine. I can drink Monsters and Mountain Dew and a bunch of caffeine in one day. And you know what happens at the end of the night? I fall asleep like a baby. you know, we need to stop. It's okay. It's okay to take 1 or 2 weeks away from us, but make sure you come back. Okay.
Right. Right.
But make sure you come back, and all the other serial killer true crime podcasts, take a break, but come back. So
Exactly. And you can take a break from the other ones and just listen to us. I mean, it's once a week. You'll be good. You'll be
yeah,
good.
and we're so lighthearted, like, I mean, even when we are talking about serious murders, I feel like we make jokes and BTK.
Hmm.
Murdering people. We talked about that and we were laughing and making fun of them the whole time. So if you like to hear lighthearted um true crime, this is your show. And for the listeners, new listeners, we don't usually talk this long.
We don't. This is such a long intro for us. But if you want something lighthearted, go to my TikTok. Go to Code 187 TikTok because I do a lot of jokes up on there.
Yes, I myself, I have been slowing down on TikToks. I had like 72 notifications from people.
Oh,
Yeah, people sent me new videos and stuff like that, and I have been missing the true crime stuff there because I saw you posted something on Facebook, and I was like, I haven't seen one of those videos in a minute. I need to just go and like binge all the videos of Code 187. So go check out that on
I
TikTok.
poked fun at myself a little bit for how much I say so, because I do that a lot.
Don't do that because that helps me in editing.
Okay.
There's some
Well, you're gonna have to get used to it, listeners.
you have to get. I mean, you know how many times I'm like in a episode. That's crazy.
Right.
So many times.
All right. Are you ready to get to the actual story?
Let's go. I'm ready.
Let's go. Okay. So, oh Jesus. So, all right. Today we're talking about Sylvia Lugo and Amanda Letch. So, they had just headed back home from a road trip on July 5th, 1995. They were out of town for 4th of July visiting Amanda's family, and they got home about 1 a.m. They had bags in their little red rental car, so they knew it would take a couple trips to take their luggage upstairs to their apartment. Amanda noticed two men standing around, but she was like, I'm just going to keep unloading my car. On the second trip, a gunman approached them from behind and forced them into their apartment.
Okay.
He forced Amanda to tie up Sylvia. So she was smart and did it as loose as possible.
Okay.
And then the man shoved Amanda into her room and began raping her.
Mm-hmm.
At this point, Sylvia ran in and the gunman shot her twice in the head.
Okay.
Then he tried to shoot Amanda, but the gun misfired and it only got her leg.
Gotcha.
He took all their jewelry, their valuables, and he fled in their rental car.
Mm-hmm.
It was later found in a tow yard from being illegally parked there.
Okay.
So he's unfortunately forcing himself on one girl. The other girl's like, that ain't gonna happen. She runs in there, gets shot, dead. The other girl comes out with just a shot into her leg.
Okay.
Okay, so Amanda made a call to 911 at this time. It is described as being pretty frantic.
Mhm.
Um,
Should be.
it was hard to clearly understand her, but she states that her girlfriend was shot in the head.
Mhm.
I have not heard the 911 phone call, but it sounds like she was very, very upset.
Mhm.
So let's go back and let me tell you about Sylvia and Amanda as people.
Gotcha.
So Sylvia was kind, caring, she loved animals, and always had a big, huge smile. Every picture, she was like so happy.
Mhm.
She came out when she was 18, and she was very proud of who she was.
Yep.
Her father said she was not the kind of girl who wore makeup.
Yep.
She was the kind of girl who got stitches. And this girl was like rough and tumble. And yeah. Amanda, the other girl, was from a big family. She worked with kids as a social worker. She met Amanda playing softball and they began a relationship.
Mhm.
1996 was weird at the time in history for the LGBTQ plus community. There was still a lot of hate
Yes.
from the community.
Mhm.
And it was more of a dangerous time.
Yes.
It was one of those like don't ask, don't tell
Yep. Mhm.
situations. You hide it and you just do what you do and then you go out in the community kind of thing.
Yep.
So where was I? Sorry. I feel like we've gotten further on LGBTQ rights, but we're still not completely equal
You're right.
yet.
Mhm.
So, but in 1996, Brownstone, Brooklyn was more accepting.
Okay.
This was an area where a lot of lesbians moved because it felt safer and it was more liberal.
Okay.
It felt like a community of love and acceptance. So Sylvia and Amanda were known very well in their community. They were loved and respected as individuals and as a couple,
Mhm.
but not everywhere was like this during the 90s.
Yes. It sounds like old like racism back in the day.
Hmm.
You would stay in your own community. You might have been loved in that community, but you go somewhere else, not the same. No.
Right. And I mean, I think it's different in one way where you can, as like a white woman, you could just go wherever you want presenting wise.
Mhm.
Like an individual who's black can't.
Yeah.
Like they're not going to be able to fake it.
Yeah.
Someone who is gay, someone who is trans in the 90s could. You shouldn't, but you could. And so I think they felt safe being themselves and presenting how they wanted to and being who they wanted
Mhm.
in that community. And then everyone else was in theirs,
Yeah.
I guess. Yeah.
Yes. So it's kind of like their own little safe haven.
Right. They felt safe there. They had a community there. Yeah. In Prospect Park, April 1994, just a few months before this couple was attacked, a lesbian woman of color was raped, and the police stated that she was faking it
Mhm.
and it was a publicity stunt.
Mhm.
This woman was a big ally and she fought for women against violence. And so the police said she was just doing it for that.
Wait, so this happened in the safe haven area.
Mhm.
Okay. So this is the safe haven area. What was the town called again? So I can stop.
Brownstone, Brooklyn. It's an area in
Okay, so
New York.
okay. Brownstone, Brooklyn, and this is where like this community is it's accepted, right? So why would the police, if you're a police officer, you would know about this area. You know, you would know like I don't want to say, I don't know, stuff like that. It wouldn't really happen in that area. Why'd she be faking it? I don't know. I don't know.
Well, I think the police weren't necessarily on their side or didn't understand. I think back in the 90s, it was we've got better things to deal with
Yep.
than, first of all, a person of color.
Yes.
let alone a lesbian in a lesbian community.
This is one of those old prostitute, person of color kind of deals. Yeah,
Mhm.
I'm picking up what you put down.
Yeah. And so they were like, oh, you're just trying to get attention. You're just trying to get
Mhm.
your campaign noticed.
Yes.
But the police were wrong.
Mhm.
They found a positive result for semen on her.
Mhm.
And that's when they're like, okay, I guess
No.
you weren't faking it. But that was a huge event there because this was their safe little world,
Mhm.
and an outsider, someone who wasn't part of their community, at least they think, came in and raped her.
Mhm.
And so it's like, oh, well, we're not as safe as we thought we were, type of
Yes.
thing.
Mhm.
So, yeah.
And I got other stuff I'm gonna say, but I'm gonna say it later. In
Okay.
We can let you go. See if any. I gotta have my little should have my little pen here. Okay, you go ahead.
All right. So when they began Sylvia and Amanda's case, the police already felt tension from the community.
Yep.
However, they made it clear that Amanda was their main suspect in the case.
Okay. You
So
said
they think that Amanda killed Sylvia. Right off the bat, just was like, Amanda did it.
why?
Well, they didn't understand a lesbian relationship for one.
Right.
And then there was little things that like were weird, but it they didn't have a real reason, is what I guess I'm trying to say.
I don't know. I don't understand it. Like, okay, let's see. They were in a relationship, and what do they think? It was just like a domestic fight or something, which they wouldn't know what to categorize that. Can you imagine being a police officer back in that day and just like,
I don't know what we're doing.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, so this was crazy because Amanda lost the love of her life
Mhm.
in a tragic event.
Yep.
Um, she was also raped. She
Mhm.
was also shot and attacked. Immediately after, while still being on pain medication from being shot and still being in the wheelchair, Amanda was very, very harshly interrogated by the police.
Hmm.
They screamed at her that she did it and she was the murderer.
I don't understand. See, this is the same thing. It just blows my mind that people will encounter something that's different
Mhm.
and they would automatically hate it for no particular reason besides that one difference. Like this, you got to think about her. She was raped, she was shot, she just lost the love of her life. And now you're interrogating her, like on pain meds in a wheelchair. You know, this ain't
Yeah.
somebody this isn't a lady who was just, on the bed with the bandage on her leg. She's got one crutch, just like, I gotta go find the murderer kind of a deal. It was just like, I mean, she was hurting, and here you are sitting there. What were you doing? This and this and this and that. I don't know. It's just, it's just crazy.
The cops didn't understand a lot at this time, I'm sure. They probably thought that this was a domestic thing. They probably thought that it was another woman that was like in this triangle. They probably thought a lot of things,
Well, I would think
all of which were wrong.
that if you're in the community, you should know a little bit. You know,
Should.
Yeah. I mean, especially, didn't they still do like cops in neighborhoods in the 90s or something where they would walk the neighborhood and people would know the neighborhood? I don't know. I don't know if that was a thing, but or how when that stopped. But still, as a police officer in this city, if this is an area in your city, you should know about it. You should know what goes on there. You should try to understand how that community works. I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, do you want to take a break since Zoom is hollering at us?
Yeah, I was kidding. I was getting ready to say that. I was just like, maybe we should push it. But
Yeah.
every time we push it, it's always like, hey guys, we are going to yeah. So it goes
Yeah,
like,
and I got mad opinions about this, and if I start, I won't stop.
all right. So we're gonna be right back after this ad here. So stay right there. We'll be back with code 187. And we are back. I'm sorry for the long intro, man. I was over here messing with audio and stuff and was like, yeah, I gotta hit this button here. So, yes. All right. We're back with more of this specific case. You ready, Sarah?
I guess.
Your screen is frozen right now. I don't know.
My screen is?
Yes. I don't know what's up with it. Something crazy. Okay, hold on a second. Okay, let me just get out of that. All right, just go with it.
Okay. So we were we were talking about what we were talking about. Oh, Amanda and Sylvia. And during the break, I was like thinking about all of this, you know. And I don't talk about like my personal life very much on my YouTube channel or here, but this case does bring up a lot of things, I think, because I have been with a woman and I was thinking like how I would handle it. And me now, like I sit here and I talk a lot of stuff and I'm like, I'd be mad and I'd be doing this. I probably wouldn't. But I have had to, in my mind, prepare how men prepare for the worst happening with men. So prepare if I'm out with a woman and they say something or do something, or, and that might be my true crime brain a little too.
Yep.
But it's scary. And so putting myself in Sylvia and Amanda's shoes, I mean, the 90s were worse.
Yes, it was.
And on top of that, now they're having to go up against the police, which they're not going to win.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And so I was just sitting here getting mad, like I always do. And I also see it from a true crime perspective too, because I thought about the scene, and you have a dead woman,
Mm-hmm.
a woman who has a shot in the leg.
Yep.
If you take out everything, we've seen instances where someone does fake an injury. And I'm like, would I feel the same if this was a man and a woman?
Hmm.
And that put me in check, like, oh, I don't know if I would.
Yes. I mean, because the way my brain works is I would have instantly saw it as like an act of self-defense.
Mm-hmm.
And I would have been like, okay, this lady was attacking her, and the person who's dead, shot at her, missed, and then this lady killed her. That's what I would have thought. Um, I don't know. I don't know. It's
Because
just
if I sat on here and I was like, okay, if this was a man and a woman, and this man had a shot in the leg and then his girlfriend was shot in the head,
yep.
would I suspect him? Probably, because the husband always did it, right?
Mhm.
Um, so that put me in check a little bit because to me, what tips it off is the rape. Because you're looking at two females in a relationship, there would not be male semen.
Yep. That's what.
So right away you're like, okay, something happened here.
Yep. Mhm.
But I don't think the police even went that far. I don't even think they cared to go that far.
Yes. I mean, as a policeman, as far as I would have gone, is I would have thought, oh, okay, these two ladies were in a relationship. This lady here was maybe cheating and was caught. And then the girl who's passed, what's her name? The girl passed away, got shot in the head.
Sylvia.
Sylvia. Sylvia was trying to beat Amanda or something like that. And then Amanda shot her, or the person guy shot her. That's what I would have thought of, but these two are in a couple, these two are a couple, there's semen, there's something else going on. Why do you think that's the only reason I would think that Amanda would kill Sylvia? That's the only way. Um, so I don't know. I don't know why they would try to pin it on her. Why would they try to find the guy? Ask him some questions.
It's also worth saying that Sylvia was white, Amanda was black. So this is also an interracial relationship.
Sarah, you just can't be leaving stuff out.
I'm sorry. I didn't even think about it when I was first saying this.
Stuff out of that. It all makes sense now.
So they took the black girl in, like, which is another race thing.
But not only is she black, but now she's lesbian. Of course, they took her in. Come on now.
Yeah.
This was the 90s too, so this was like in Brooklyn or something in the New York area, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so that's a little more urban. So I was thinking it might have been like a country area or something.
New York was there. Those cops were back in back in the day. New York cops were pretty rough.
I saw gangster movies back in the day. Goodfellas. I don't know if that's
Right.
but yeah, when I think of gangsters, I think of Chicago, New York, and cops, breaking legs for the gangster and mobs and stuff like that. And I mean, in the 90s, what I look through time and I think, like the 70s, for black people, that was like, things were kind of getting better. And then the 80s, it was kind of like, okay, it's good. And then by the time you got to the 90s, you were like, okay, things are going pretty good, but there was still a lot of bad stuff going on. And, now this lady, now Amanda she's two minorities. Oh, listen, one, that's fine. But two now? Oh my gosh.
Yeah. I should have mentioned that earlier, but I just wasn't even thinking about it. Okay, so let's, I guess, get back to the story and I'll stop ranting and getting mad. But um, so after the murder, the police just kind of stopped for a little bit. I think they realized they were in a weird position because the community was over here and they were over here and they didn't want riots.
Yep.
So Sylvia's family was mad that they didn't arrest Amanda right away.
Yes.
They believed the cops and what the newspapers were saying. And so they were mad because they're like, all right, get on this.
Mhm.
Arrest Amanda. If you think it's Amanda, you probably have proof. Go ahead and arrest her.
Mhm.
The Gay and a Lesbian Alliance stood with Amanda and was mad that the police weren't doing anything to find the person who actually did this.
Yes.
So you have a lot of different people on a lot of different sides.
Yes. And it's like multiple murder cases we've talked about here on this show, where there have been multiple murderers. And what did the cops do? They sat down, anybody who was a suspect, they sat them down and tried to figure it out. So why is this case any different? They found male semen. They should find the male it goes to and get him in there for questioning and things like that.
Right.
I don't know.
So the problem with this case was there was plainly a lack of evidence.
Yep.
There was no good fingerprints in the car that was left. No DNA really left. Amanda's rape kit came back inconclusive. And the bullet hole in her leg, the cops were like, that's self-inflicted. Witnesses also heard only women's voices that night and no men. The autopsy report conflicted that Amanda's account of the crime. She said Sylvia stood up after the first shot, but the medical examiner said that was physically impossible.
Mhm.
But who knows, with trauma, I mean, details get fuzzy.
Yeah. I mean, plus, she could have had a little bit of a adrenaline boost, You never know.
Yeah. The cops firmly believed it was Amanda and maybe an accomplice. So now they're adding someone else in.
Oh.
They believed that they were just out to kill Sylvia, and that's it. There was no other motive.
Mhm.
Amanda stood to her facts and said she was innocent. She maintained that it was a short, light-skinned Hispanic man, neatly trimmed beard, and a baseball hat. A composite sketch was made, but they didn't do much with it.
Yeah. Where does a crime of passion fall? Like, I don't know. I don't know. Would that even be a thing in this particular case?
Like, if you think that Amanda did do it,
Like, I don't think she did do it, but I'm just looking at it as from the police officer's side of it. Like, if they were to convict her, could they not do? Because don't you get like a lesser charge if it's like a crime of passion or something like that?
I don't think you get a lesser charge. But they could use that as motive.
Gotcha. And right here, they really don't have any really good motive with this.
I mean, the only thing I think they might be trying to put that other person in to say either, okay, it was a man, there was semen, so he was hired or he was working with or something to that extent. Because there was semen, it just came back inclusive, like who it belonged to.
Gotcha. So maybe this is this guy's first attempt, like, with a crime or something.
Mm-hmm. At this point, newspapers and rumors were just flying.
Mhm.
A writer by the name of Brad Hamilton, who you could already tell by my tone of voice I am pretty mad at. He wrote for the Daily Bulletin. He started releasing articles that were extremely homophobic and false.
Mhm.
The names of his articles included, these are very offensive names. I'm just saying this because these are facts. I don't like these words.
Okay.
Here I go. One of them was Dyke Killer on the Loose, and the other was Clitty Clitty Bang Bang. Which, horrible, but catchy.
I'm glad you're laughing because I didn't want to. Listen, very bad.
Very, very bad.
You gotta admit, that's kind of a clever name right there.
So, yeah. Moving on. He was writing articles and flyers and just distributing them around town. In this article, he wrote very untrue and slanderous things. He said that the couple had been cheating on each other, that Amanda was violent and even hit Sylvia at one time. These things were never proven to be true. He also printed that the police believed that Amanda was the killer and staged the scene, which he had no right to do because it wasn't true. I tried to find this man. I was gonna release where he worked. I was gonna release if he had some kids. I was about to destroy poor Brad Hamilton. He was gonna go down in flames, but I could not find this man.
Because he's probably in one of those, what is it, the undercover thing?
Witness protection program.
Witness protection program right now because of everything he said. It's like, okay, some of these people back in the day, like Kevin Hart said some homophobic stuff back in the early 2000s. That came on him. Kevin Hart couldn't do what, the Oscars or whatever. You know what they would do with what's his name? Something Hamilton.
Brad Hamilton.
What they would do to Brad if they went back and found those articles, like that'd be the first crucifixion since Jesus.
I tried. I was up late at night, a couple of nights, because I was heated. But he knows I'm out there.
It's crazy how reporters and police can come up with stories like that. Like, I think this happened. I think this happened. And how we as people, we just kind of we eat it up, And it's like, nobody ever asked the question, what proof do you have? So this guy was able to just go out here and say all these things about these ladies and nobody thought twice about it.
Yeah. And say the words he did. And no one was like, okay, you at least can't say those words.
Oh, well, I mean, I'll let you know. I think up to like 2006, those words were very okay to say. Like, just some of the comedy I listened to. I've listened to some things like one of the comics said the F word, not like fuck. That's the other one for homosexual. Yeah. And I was like, you can't say that word no more. Like, you'll listen to like Eddie Murphy or somebody back in the 80s. You like, it was a different time. But like nowadays, it's like, so I don't know. I don't know where I was going with that.
I was listening to a song the other day and that F word came up and I was like, whoa.
I was like,
and it wasn't that long ago and I was like, you can't say that.
I remember being a kid and people used to say that word and it was nothing. And then like, I don't know where, like around 2006 or, they say 2006 is like the year. So anything that happened in the early 2000s, it was automatically happening in 2006, like, so I'm just going to keep saying it. Around 2006, I think that's when where you just couldn't say it. We just shift to being politically correct. I don't know though.
I just think even like has cursing ever really been on newspapers? And then I also, I can't say slander hasn't because I'm sure that they have printed the N-word back in the day.
Oh yeah. There's a what's this there? There is a movie book. I've got a big old thick movie book and it has every movie made from like 1924 to 1992. And some of the older movies, it has the N-word in there because it's describing the characters or something in it. And I'm just like,
and To Kill a Mockingbird had that, and
yes. And I think, I was even going to say, I know we're getting off on the case, but we're still talking about, slander and everything. But what about in films or literature? Is it okay to say now? Because one of my favorite directors, Quentin Tarantino, and one of my favorite actors, Leonardo DiCaprio and Django, they were saying that word like they grew up in the 50s, you know.
Right. And that is such a good piece of like artwork. That movie is so good. It's so underrated.
Yes. And it's like people are just like they shouldn't have said that word so many times. I'm like, but it was
That's what they were saying in that time though.
a period piece, you know. So it's like when is it like if you're doing a period piece like that, is it okay? And how many times can you get away with it? Because I heard it was like in the hundreds. They said they said that in Django. I might have
It's a
to go-
lot.
Yeah, it's a lot. Yeah.
Leonardo DiCaprio's probably like, I gotta practice this because I'm not allowed to say it. And now I have to practice.
It's like Quentin, come here, man. They ain't gonna kill me for this, you know. Like because everybody was just letting it go. And Quentin Tarantino in some of his movies, Pulp Fiction, he said it. They were saying it in Reservoir Dogs. Just any Quentin Tarantino movie, if you haven't seen it, go watch it. He at least some of them they gonna drop the N word at least one time. They even dropped the F word. Not fuck, but
Yeah. But I do think though that it makes you hate the character.
yes,
And it makes you understand like saying it 100 times, that was nothing compared to what they were saying it.
Mhm.
And the feeling behind it and the discrimination behind it, like I think it's needed to set the story.
So we're going.
I
So,
wouldn't want to say it as an actor though.
no, I wouldn't. So what we're saying, like in art, if it has like a certain time period or something, and you really want your audience to feel something based off of that time period, it might be okay. You might get a pass. You know, I mean, still, I mean, Django, it faced a bunch of, you know, people came after it. You know, but it's still a good movie. People love it to this day. But when you're using, I guess, if you're using these words, like Brad Hamilton was to tear down people, to distort the image of a person, that's not a good thing, you know, because that's never a good thing to tear somebody down, you know. Uh, man,
This had just such a hate behind it.
yes.
So yeah, I wish I could find Mr. Brad Hamilton. It's
Just
gonna be my life's work.
next thing you know, you're like, you found him, you found his burial, like his,
Right.
you just poured whiskey bottles and stuff and light it on fire.
Yep. So the LGBT community was mad at him.
Mhm.
And they were stating the obvious that Amanda had not been charged with anything.
Yep.
There was no evidence against her. They organized this huge protest on July 27th, where more than 500 people protested and called for Amanda's release.
Mhm.
In March 1996, 8 months after Sylvia was killed, Gabriella Kearns was approached by a man who demanded her car.
Uh-huh.
She put up a fight and he shot her in the head. Gabriella miraculously survived this shooting. Still, cops reassured the public that these cases were not connected. They kept saying that Amanda was the only suspect in this case. After officers arrested 19-year-old Alex Villanueva
Okay.
for Gabriella's shooting,
Mhm.
they realized he looked identical to Amanda's composite sketch. That included a pencil mustache and a cap.
Mhm.
Alex was a drifter roaming the streets of New York. He told the cops he felt untouchable.
I bet being a drifter, but still, it's still not gonna change the way you look. I mean, even Captain America and all them in the Avengers still put sunglasses on and a ball cap to disguise themselves. I mean, I don't know. See, we always talk about this on the show. Serial killers do dumb stuff, or murderers do dumb stuff, and this is one of the things he did. He did not change his appearance in here, but I'm glad he got caught.
Yeah.
You notice we always say that it was like this was dumb. He shouldn't have done it this way. He should have actually did it this way. But I'm glad he got caught.
Yeah. He admitted to killing Sylvia and described how he shot her after she burst into the room when he was raping Amanda. He said he stole the car and weeks later parked it near his probation officer's office. Ballistics evidence showed that the gun used to shoot Kearns, which was Gabriella, matched the one used to kill Sylvia and wounded Amanda. Amanda identified Alex in the lineup as the man who killed her girlfriend and shot her. Just over a year after Sylvia's murder, Alex was charged with attempted murder, and rape. Alex was also unexpectedly confessed. Oh, he also unexpectedly confessed to a May 1995 execution-style murder of Michael Terrell, the murder that happened only 2 months before Sylvia and Amanda were attacked. Before Alex's trial began in May 19, I wrote 77, but I know that one's wrong. Must have been 97. He pleaded guilty to second-degree murder of Sylvia Lugo, Michael Terrell, and attempted murder of Gabrielle Kearns, and the rape of Amanda Letch. He was sentenced to 50 years to life in prison. As of now, he could have completed about 27 years. He could be up for parole in 2045 if he is still alive. He was 19, so that would put him 70 or so in 2045.
Listen, now every year of my life, I have to sit here and almost think about this guy. I'm just like, dang, well, how many years he got? What did he say? Like, what was it?
How many years did he get?
How many years did he get?
50.
50. Like, so when I'm 50, dang, Alex got a chance to get out if he ain't dead. Like,
I'm sure he'll be dead. I'm sure.
Let's hope. I hope so. I'm gonna be following this case for the rest of my life.
I feel like being an evil person ages you.
Oh yeah.
I don't know if that's true, but you see evil people and you're like, ooh,
yeah,
gross. Like, look at Bill Cosby. Bill Cosby has aged 80 years since he was charged. That man is knocking on death's door.
He was like super healthy, and then he just
he was playing racquetball 1 minute, and then
going blind now. What?
Right. Evil people, I'm telling you.
Oh my goodness. So see, each and every president in the United States, they're like,
right.
It's one of those things where, listen, I don't care what side you're on because I don't like either or. So I'm just like, each and every president in the United States, it's like, if you watch them, they're just so young, and most of them are young. And let's take Barack Obama. Barack Obama was so young and useful, and he's like, I'm going to change America. And then, as he gets out his presidency, he's like, I can't wait to get out of here, man. I out my family, gray hair, wrinkles, and everything. I'm like, what happened to Barack in 8 years?
Right. It's stressful.
Yeah.
Stressful.
I mean, it's crazy. He's been the most dramatic, because black don't crack, but it cracked for him in the past 8 years. So
you're sitting there saying this, and our current president is already getting up there. I love him, love the man, but he's he might just die before this ends.
I think it's so funny. Okay, we're not talking about politics, but okay, we just still talk about evil guys. But I think it's funny that we have people on that side of the spectrum. They're talking about their president. And it's like, it makes me laugh so much because they realize he's an old bastard. And he's president, and he's evil. So now it's just aging him really quickly, All bad guy. You know what? Now I'm going to start looking at certain things. I'm going to start watching TVs and things, or, just movies and things. I'm like, that's why the girl from what's it? Rapunzel or whatever, the Disney movie. That's why she was getting old. The witch, whatever. That's why she had to touch the hair and say, okay, whatever.
There you go. Yeah. Woo, okay. Well, this has been an episode, but we talked about just about everything. Right. Well, that is all. Do you have anything left to say about this case?
No, I do. We as people need to be better, just with other people. I mean, we need to, just because somebody's different, whether they're gay, straight, trans, black, white, no matter what they are, we need to see them as people, especially people in law enforcement. You know, we need to just look at the facts and treat them just like everybody else, because this case could have been, I think this case could have been wrapped up pretty quickly if they weren't what, bigots, you know,
Yeah.
against this particular group. You know, I think it's like us when we do these cases. We don't look and see we don't care if the murderer is black, we don't care if they're white, we don't care if they're a man, we don't care if they're a woman, we don't care if they're an old person or a young person. All we see is a murderer. And that's how the police need to figure out. We try to figure out the true crime cases out here, no matter what. That's what we got to do. I hope all that made sense, because I felt like I was just rambling for a little bit. But
No, I mean, it's so true. And like, that's why I try to start these episodes where you're in the crime scene. You know nothing about these people before. You don't know their childhood. You don't know anything about the victims. You see the crime scene
yes,
and you see the evidence first. And then, you work backwards, because their life, certain things have effect, do they have a risky lifestyle? Da da da. This was a hate crime, their background did come into play. But yeah, I think we need to do better and be better about just everything.
yes.
And these victims were just as important as any other. It's sad.
Yep. It's sad that just because you are, prostitute, black, a woman, that you are, you're looked at as different. Police will say, oh, we're not going to worry about this case because they fit this stereotype or they fit this category. It's not, it's just frustrating when you hear cases where they could have wrapped it up really quickly, but because they kept slowing down because they didn't feel comfortable with the lifestyle or this person, So
what I feel really bad about is Gabriella's attack didn't even have to happen if they did their job. If they would have came down and found Alex before, he would have never attacked Gabriella.
Yep.
And that happens a lot, is we need to stop being prejudiced in a case, because you're saving lives when you put someone away.
Yep. And I don't think most police officers don't even do that. And then, I mean, even then you start to, we talked about this on my show one time, just you get that unsolicited bias, where you look at somebody and you automatically think something. So that's just a whole big thing. You know what, say we should do a whole thing about just race and,
We really should. I'll write an episode about how prejudice and about how things like that affect true crime, because that's what we do.
Yes, I think it's super important, because we as people need to understand that, and maybe some police officers will listen to it and they're just like, these guys got it right. We need to listen to them, and then next thing you know, we're doing seminars. It's like, hold on. When you're in the field, just because this person has a certain color or a certain gender, or they believe something different than you still have to treat them the same, And then
that sounded a lot like Barack in the way you did your hands.
You got to do the, we'll be sitting there just for like, and Barack, but he does the little big words, no matter how inextricable or problematic this might be, we are Americans, and we need to come together
because we are one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
That was a good Barack impression.
Thank you. That's the first time I've ever used sound effects on here. That's awesome. Well, I listen to a lot of comedians. Okay, guys, listen. We're going to talk after this because we have a lot to talk about. We've only got about 5 minutes on here. So, Sarah, before we get out of here, tell them where they can find us.
We're code 187. I will put the socials below. And yeah, come talk to us about this case. I have a lot of opinions. I know you do too. So let's chat. And that was the controversial and sad death of Sylvia Lugo.
Yes, guys. And also to listen, if you guys are listening to this on Spotify, there was a lot of big reactions from me. I don't know, on my side of the video, Sarah has just had a stone face this whole time. So I don't know, like I'm over here just being all flamboyant and then Sarah's got a stone face. Just from my video, Sarah, I don't know how it looks on your side, but yeah, you can come see me do my Barack impressions and things if you go to the YouTube and stuff like that. So go check us out on YouTube. We need some love over there. And then you YouTubers, go check out Spotify because we need some love over there. So we just need this big old melting pot. So as of right
now, I'm going to make that a clip of you doing that impression. So find that on there as well.
With TikTok.
Yeah.
I would love Barack Obama to be sitting there and like, who was this? Who was this?
Yes.
All right, guys. I'm Joe.
And I'm Sarah.
And you guys are listening to Code 187. We'll see you guys next week. Bye.
Bye.
Hi guys, I just wanted to say I hope you enjoyed this video. If you like any of the content for Code 187, please click that subscribe button, that like button, that share button. Help us out, help us grow. You can find us on your favorite podcast platforms. Yeah, check us out on there. Give us some ratings. Tell us what you think. We're also across every social media on Code 187. So we're on TikTok, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. I think that's it. And of course, YouTube. So please, please, please subscribe if you like our content and spread the word. We'll see you guys next time. Bye.